I'm going to swiftly move past that absolute nonsense.
Nobody's debating whether that was legal or illegal. Everyone agrees it's illegal. Now it's just the severity of it that people are disagreeing with there.
You put your headphones on, you sit back and you just let it all unfold.
And then at the end of the thing, she lifts the thing and she points it at me and she says, "This is why you don't have a girlfriend."
Essentially what it is, for people who don't know what it is instead of playing golf in real life, this is golf on a simulator.
I find it disgusting that you attack a female referee like this.
Bench opinions. 3 idiots with amateur analysis.
So you never got retainers, but you were suggested to wear a head brace.
Yeah, it was that thing that goes around your head like this. That full fucking headgear. And he said to me, "Wear it every day, even at school." And I said, "No, thank you. I am not going to fucking commit fucking high school perjury, bro. And then you're going to be bullied for the rest of your life." So I said no. So now I think my jaw's like 5 centimeters too far forward. But, I'd rather take that than what you would face in school if you wore a headgear like that. Yes.
5 centimeters, Maxi. You know how
I
much
just said
5 centimeters?
I don't know how big that is.
Okay.
You can fit like a lot. If I close my mouth like this, I think you can fit like, it's not 5 centimeters, but
Like a 2 rand coin.
you can fit some decent stuff in there. I think a 5 rand coin can fit in there. Yeah. It's quite wide.
But don't you think Dr. Jackson may have lost money on you? You got large teeth, dude. It's a lot of, it's a lot of moving.
The size of the teeth doesn't fucking impact what the brace is.
I think it does.
They
I
just
think it
glue
does.
something on there. You know what they didn't tell me? This is a bit disgusting, but when you go for braces back then, you could either get the silver ones, normal braces. Then a lot of people got the colorful ones. And then I got the ones that were like the same color as your teeth. They were like, so
ceramic,
that people wouldn't be able to see them. Yeah. But now my oral hygiene wasn't so great back then. So they turned like a fucking milky yellow. It was disgusting.
That's so
This is why now it's disgusting. But now we're back. Look at them now.
Pearly white.
Now we're flossing every day. Yeah.
Yes, this dude. But that's not due to Jackson. That's due to Mackenzie, your dentist.
No, that was not the dentist. That was the oral hygienist there. I think I was like 16 or something, and I was lying there. And you know how when they clean your mouth, they like wipe that tool on that thing they put on your
That bib.
chest, that bib. And then at the end of the thing, she lifts the thing and she points it at me and she says, "This is why you don't have a girlfriend." And I was like,
How
first
old
of all,
were you?
how do you know I don't have a girlfriend? I was like 16. It was one of those, sometimes in life you have like these moments where you're like, okay, we need to pull ourselves together here, because I think I was also not doing well in school at that time, failing a few subjects. And then that was sort of like, it was that moment. You have sometimes moments where you're veering down the wrong path. She got me back on the right path, at least oral hygiene is wise.
Dirty teeth, no girlfriend, struggling at school. I mean, it was just the trifecta happening to you over there.
At least now I have clean teeth. The rest.
Well, at least you don't have any subjects that you can fail anymore.
Yes. Heavy.
Anyway, let's use that as a segue to actually start the show. This is Bench Opinions episode 21. We are fully legal in the States now, which is means nothing at the end of
We
the
can
day.
drink. We've been able to drive cars and shoot guns for like the last 20 years, but now we can drink.
Drink and gamble, I think, is on the cards now. How is
I think in
your...
some states they're not even allowed to gamble.
Oh, really? Was it 23,
Yeah.
25?
No, I think some states just don't allow gambling at all.
Oh, right. Except if you go to an Indian casino.
Hell yeah.
Okay. So
Send a little shout out to our missing colleague.
I was just about to do that, but seeing as you've started, go ahead.
We love you. We miss you. He's sick. He came back from Austria yesterday. He's flying to South Africa tomorrow. So we've given him the day off because he needs the day just to give his body a fighting chance. So we wish him all the best. He's a man who likes to steam. So, he's going to be steaming it up. Hopefully there's some good medication, not just that German stuff, that herbal stuff. You need something that really kicks your ass.
It's going to get those essential oils going, open up the airways. Just sweat it out.
At least he's not doing it in our salad bowl anymore. To be fair, now I do it in our salad bowl. So
Yeah, it's a habit that I can't say I'm too happy about.
You're still losing. Okay.
Yeah. But Dominic, get well soon. We hope that your recovery is swift and painless. And interestingly enough, Maxi, you'll be flying back from South Africa to Germany tonight. So you must be quite bummed that your holiday is over and that you're coming back to the cold, wet, and grey.
Yeah. It's tough. Yesterday, we were sitting outside here, we were having some pizza and wine, and then the one browser, like, he just shows me his phone, and it just says 1 degree on there, and I'm like, what is this? And he's like, that's the weather you're going back to in Berlin. I was like,
that's not
why
nice.
am I being fucking harassed like this? Yeah, it's fucking Schadenfreude. I'm not excited that my holiday is over, but I am excited that I'm getting a break from all this alcohol. Which sounds bad because I can also take a break here. But I think if you've been in South Africa in December, I guess if you've been on holiday anywhere where it's warm, and you're quite a sociable person, it's quite tough to not drink, especially when the alcohol is good and cheap. Wine's good, beer's good. So I need a break. My body it's struggling. I walked to pick up the pizza yesterday, and it's literally a 15-minute walk from here. It's Cape Town, so it's down a hill and up a hill. But I was fucking panting. Yes. My heart was beating outside my chest.
So you're happy to come back, hit the gym, get your cardio back up and running again.
2025. Yeah. But you're going to hit the same exact problems as I've been hitting.
Dude, as you'll be flying here, I'll be flying back out to South Africa. So, I'm going to experience the same.
You excited?
I'm very excited, yeah. Dominic and I have got quite a bit of golf planned. So we're going to be spending about a week and a half in Joburg and then about, 2-3 weeks in Cape Town. So it's a good mix of both. And obviously going to see friends, family, going to go watch some rugby, going to watch some cricket. So it's going to be pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, and there's a lot of things that I'll be observing on the way. But hit us with your observation of the week.
Yeah. My observation of the week it was obviously over Christmas time. You see a lot of, I guess, family, friends and relatives and people that you tend to see every year, but not in between. So, and, there's some people that you talk to every year and they keep asking you the same question every time you see them. These people ask me,
what do you do?
What do you do? Where are you based? And I'm like, my guy, I've been in Berlin for the last 7 or 8 years of my life. And for 5 of those, I've been doing the exact same thing. So, okay, fair enough. You're assuming that maybe I've had a massive life change, but maybe that's how you enter the conversation. You say, are you still in Berlin? Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I am the master at small talk because I fucking hate it these days. And I know these people are just trying to make conversation to fill awkward silence. But it's sort of like when you walk into a room and you see there's a few people that you think you haven't met and you just run up to people and you stick your hand out and you're like, Max, nice to meet you. And then these people are like, I've met you 3 times already. You need to approach these situations with a bit more panache these days. So you've got to fucking walk in, suss out the room. People will tell you, nice to see you again. Then you go, lovely to see you again. I don't remember you from a bar of soap, but it's the same thing.
The other problem is then also, it's like, why would you want to have this conversation with this person if you're having it year in, year out? They're not going to remember it next year anyway. Yeah. So this whole conversation is a waste of time.
You can see it that way, but then I also saw it a different way. You can also tell these people whatever the fuck you want. Like, it was the same as when I was playing golf with people that I didn't know. They were like, what do you do? I was like, space engineer.
Space cowboy.
No, I didn't say space engineer, but I also just said shit that was a lot easier to say than what I actually do. Because I was just like, fuck it,
So what did you tell them, for example?
I just told them I was in supply chain management.
Okay. I thought you were going to tell them I'm in fashion.
No, I can't tell them I'm in fashion. But then also, like, when you play with some Afrikaans people, they think you're like 40. They're like, you got wife and kids? I was like, yeah. Wife's at home, kids are at home. Tough December. People are like, oh, tell me about it.
The whole ball and chain.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Tell me about your observation there, Klaus.
Well, my observation is something I guess it's a little bit of a cheat observation because it's more of it's what I'm going to expect to be observing tomorrow on my flight. And I think we've all traveled enough. We've all seen enough stuff happen on airplanes or in the process of getting onto an airplane. And it's the whole process that really bugs me. It starts at people rushing to get on the plane first because they think the plane's going to leave without them, to then starting to put their bags at the front of the plane, even though they sat right at the back, just so that they don't have to carry their bag another 10 meters. It goes on to then getting off the plane and how people stand up, even though the stewardess always asks, please stay seated. No, these guys reckon they're going to get off the plane faster than anybody else. They don't have a connecting flight or anything. They just want to get off the plane. And it's I guess at the end of the day, it's the entitlement that really cheeses me off.
Of course it does.
Yeah, bro.
Klaus.
100%.
I can see you tisk-tisking and just shaking your head. Entitlement. And you're just staring people down.
100%, dude.
Some people also get a bit too drunk on the plane. Then they don't get served more alcohol. Then now they're fucking shouting, do you know who my dad is?
How's that story, hey? How's that story? That is unreal. So for anybody who doesn't know, there's an airliner in South Africa called Safair. And there was a lady who is sat quite far at the back, actually, for somebody who claims to be that important. And
very important.
And she was upset that she wasn't getting. Was she upset that she wasn't getting served alcohol? Or was she upset that she wasn't getting served first? I thought she wasn't getting served first.
I don't know. Also, Klaus, this is a dangerous subject to wade into, because we don't know all the facts yet, and we don't know which side of the coin people are going to fall on. Currently, everyone's sort of against her, but we also don't want to be the ones who now are the first ones to judge. You know?
Maxie, I think if we want our podcast to become anything, we need to live on the edge because we have to have opinions. Yeah. We can't be Switzerland here. Nobody cares about Switzerland. People only care about America, Russia, North Korea. That's the only news you want to read. So we've got to go.
Okay, let's explain the facts as we know them. This auntie, from the video when it started, this lady was already fighting with the airline staff there. Yeah. They were trying to put those cable tie handcuffs on her, and she was throwing them back at them. And then you heard that she was saying, "Do you know who my father is? I'm an ANC bitch." Ew. And then she was also saying that if she was white, this wouldn't happen to her.
Then some white tiny got up and said, like, "That's racist."
It was wild. It's also on Boxing Day, so people are drinking.
And this was a flight from Durban to Cape Town, or Cape Town to Durban. I can't remember which way.
Durban to Cape Town.
Okay.
Yeah. Now some photos have come out of her and her boyfriend there drinking at the restaurant in the airport. But it seems like the country has very much fallen on the side of the airline, and people are not happy with how she behaved. But it's tough, You sometimes it's these videos emerge from airplanes, and it happens a lot in America. I haven't seen it happen that often in Europe, but you do see it from like Ibiza coming back to the UK. A lot of these English party places, the Brits coming back from holiday, and they are fucking rowdy. And I think it's because flying is so dehumanizing, especially in economy class. You get put into this fucking tight space. Now you're around people that you don't know. Folks' legs are touching. And now you've got to sit there for it's hot. So yeah, I understand your observation for tomorrow. It's definitely going to happen. It's going to suck. But this is where you need to zen out,
Oh yeah, 100%.
You just need to accept what's going to happen.
You put your headphones on, you sit back, and you just let it all unfold, because it means nothing in the greater scheme of things.
Ignore what's happening.
It freaks me out, but I also find it quite entertaining, because I just think these people are a bunch of idiots. So there's that. There's a little bit of entertainment in it as well. But I think if I do get this lady on my flight, that would be quite entertaining, because she also went and sort of half slapped the stewardess, and is now calling foul play. Posted on Instagram or on Twitter saying it was a very traumatizing experience, this viral video that went online, because the stewardess was just horrible to her. But from the video, it seems like everybody on the plane. And there was about 50 people filming this thing. I've never seen, I think the only time I've ever seen more cell phones is at a Taylor Swift concert. And everybody seemed to be on the side of the airline. So I don't think she was in the right. Even the ANC has distanced themselves from her. So let's see how that turns out.
Let's see. I mean, I think it is traumatic when you've done something. You know, sometimes you have these lapses in judgment and you do something and now everyone's filmed it and it's online. But I think you just got to console yourself in the fact that all of this stuff blows over. You're in the media for like 2 weeks. People are laughing. People are judging. Then it's gone. So all the best to her.
But you know, when you play a sport, you score a try. People are like, no, you dropped it. There's never playback. At least she's going to have thousands of videos she can review herself from different angles.
VAR, bro. You must get it there. The VAR. And also we need some good hand up accountability here from this lady. We need to come out. We need to say, listen, because, you know, in December, we all like to jowl. You know, we all fucking partying. We sometimes do things we regret. If she comes out, she just says, guys, I've reviewed the footage. That one's on me. Askis. People are going to be like, listen, they're still going to laugh at you, but we'll be fine.
But now we're laughing together. I think reviewing footage is a great segue into our next segment, which is going to be rugby. Because on the weekend, there was a pretty epic game between the Sharks and the Stormers in Cape Town, in DHL Stadium. I think you were trying to get tickets. I don't know if you went in the end. I know my sister, my dad went, and they said it was absolutely unreal. 50,000 fans. The Stormers pipped the Sharks 24-20. Well done, Muxie.
Hell yeah. Thank you. I didn't manage to go. We watched it on TV here, the peeps here. I think we all regretted that we didn't go because, like you said, it was quite a cool experience and the stadium was packed and it was great weather. And it was a great game. But by the way that you started that segment, I'm trusting you're alluding to some scandal. So I'm just going to let you roll. I'm going to let the prosecution come and then the defense is going to make their point. So please.
Okay, seeing as we were on the train of controversial TMO decisions is what we were segueing into. There was a couple of things that the refereeing team decided on, which I thought didn't make any sense. And it went both ways. So for example, the one that I thought was quite strange was the Moore try, or the disallowed Moore try rather, where Ethan Hooker got a yellow card. I thought, so essentially what happened was there was a line out, 5 meters out, ball got thrown in. The Stormers retained the ball and started a maul. That maul eventually split or didn't split. I guess that's up for debate. And then Ethan Hooker came in from the side and essentially stopped a try from happening. So the thing that I don't understand is either it is a split maul, then he is allowed to come in because it's not the same maul anymore, so he can reattach himself. Then he shouldn't be getting a yellow card. Or, and this is what I think, it is the same maul because they've lost guys at the front, but they still stayed together. Then he's not allowed to come in. Now he has hindered a try. So not only is it a yellow card, but it's a penalty try as well, which is not what they received. They only the Sharks received a yellow card and the Stormers got a penalty.
Yeah. I was also confused as that because I didn't see him come in from the side. He was sort of, to me, even when they showed the replay, because their argument was that he didn't enter through the back and that he pulled it out when he entered from the side. And I thought it was Chituka who came in from the side and pushed it out. But now, you're not going to make the mistake of confusing those two guys. And they're built very different. They're also a completely different skin color. So I think there was a moment where the ref she gave a penalty and she was holding up six black. Now, this is Pepsi Buthelezi. And he was standing right in front of her. And eventually he's like, that's me. And she's like, yes, you. So, Oaks are mistaking people for other people. Happens. Anyways, I've got one argument that's going to nullify anything you say at the end of this. So keep going.
You're just keeping one in the chamber there. Okay, fine. The other controversy that happened out there was a tackle from Du Plessis on Andre Esterhuizen. So there's a lot of debate whether that was a legal tackle or was an illegal tackle. It was deemed an illegal tackle, but low, lots of mitigating factors and low.
Nobody's debating whether that was legal or illegal. Everyone agrees it's illegal. Now it's just the severity of it that people are disagreeing with there.
So it was deemed not too severe, and he got a yellow card. It ended in Andre Esterhuizen actually getting quite injured to his knee. I don't know what the injury was. I haven't looked that up, but he was injured enough that he had to leave the field on a golf cart. So that was the outcome of that. It was a tucked arm, and it was directly to the lower limbs. So from what I read online in the rule book, that should actually be a red card, but it was deemed a yellow.
Are you going to make is there any other things that you're going to complain about after this? Or was this the last one?
No, for me, those were the only two controversies. Yeah. Everything else was just rugby.
Okay. I find it disgusting that you attack a female referee like this. You know, the game needs to develop. We need to.
Whoa. That's not what I said.
I know what you're doing.
I said the refereeing team is what I said.
Yeah.
We can you know what the nice thing about having these conversations as a podcast are? We can review the footage.
I'm kidding. Listen, that tackle was hectic. You know what made it even worse is that he scored the winning try, and he was so cocky about it. I was like, my brah, just relax. You're not even supposed to be on the field anymore. You fucked that oak up. But listen, the pendulum doth swingeth. You know, now you get the decision. Now you don't. Couldn't have happened to a nicer team than the Sharks. On the Sharks, friend of mine, I was asked not to mention the name, but she's a female friend, you know, that we both know very well. That I'm currently also here on holiday with. She met Sia Kolisi in a shop here in Cape Town, and she said she lost it. She became giddy. She became flustered. She saw him and it just like all overwhelmed. She said she's never had a reaction like that before. And she said to him the line, "I'm so sorry. You're just the most amazing man I've ever seen. You're this nation's head boy." And he was a bit befuddled by that. He couldn't really do much with it. Now she's very embarrassed about the line that she used. But I said to her, it's actually not that bad, because that's something that a bra will remember, because if you're just like, you're inspiring, you've done so much for this country, thank you. That's what everyone says. No one's going to come up to someone and be like, you're this nation's head boy, because that's a wild thing to say.
That is a wild thing to say. It's essentially saying that South Africa is still high school.
People are now stuck in this.
And this guy's just making sure that everybody's got their t-shirt tucked in.
Yo. He's also got the best grades there.
Mr. Popularity.
And then I was thinking, so I've never been flustered when I've seen celebrities. But I think if I met some of the Springboks, I think my heart rate would go up. They are, they're my guys.
I mean, I told you.
No, you go ahead. What did you do in Edinburgh for one of our now greatest players ever?
I mean, I can't talk about it now because now he's married with child. But
yeah, but now, these marriages here, they don't necessarily always last.
I.e. Sia and Rachel.
Justice for Rachel.
I just met him in a club in Edinburgh many years ago, and he
we're not talking about Etzebeth, just so the followers.
Yeah, Etzebeth, exactly. Sorry. Very, very tall man. I mean, I'm not short myself. I'm 192. But this guy obviously is like 204 or something crazy and just absolutely towers over you. And we were talking about girls at the time, and and I went to go talk to these two girls for him because he was a bit nervous. And then I sort of pointed at him, saying to the one girl, like, this guy's quite into you. And he came over and kind of gave me a telling off and was like, don't point at me. That wasn't part of the deal. I'm not gonna lie. When I initially met him, I was fine because I was 3 sheets to the wind. But when he came over and told me off, I was my papa was doing this. And he has massive hands. That's the one thing that I remember. Is just his mitts of note. But anyway, big man.
Listen, just on the Stormers Sharks again, we're back on track. I believe we're now above the Lions, although you guys have a game in hand. We are now, I think, basically on course to take on Leinster in the final. We're back.
I'm going to swiftly move past that absolute nonsense. Stormers are playing very well. Stormers are playing well. I'm going to say very well, but they're playing well. The thing that I wanted to know from you, Maxi, is obviously after having seen that game, it was a relatively tight game. 24-20 is still one score difference. 2 things. One thing is you're probably worried about Sasha. Sasha got another hit to his clavicle, so he's not even struggling with his hip pointer that he had last week. Now he's struggling with a new injury. So he left the field at around halftime, just before halftime. And Weber was out. I think those are the 2 big players that you guys were missing. And yet, what happened to the Sharks is they lost an entire array of players. You know, they had Andre Esterhuizen and Apelele Fassi go out. They had Sio Kolisi and Julius Lorenzo go out from cramping. They were missing the likes of Bongi and Eoben. So the team that played against the Stormers and still managed to push them 24-20, do you think the win is a reflection on the Stormers having played really well? Or is it more of a reflection of the Sharks struggling from missing players just the way that the Stormers have been struggling with that predicament the entire season?
Are you asking if we played if the full strength Stormers played a full strength Sharks, do you think we'd win?
That's a way easier way of phrasing it.
Yeah, yes, as you went on a journey there. I think I checked out for most of that, but I still understand your question. I don't think we'd beat a full strength. It depends where we play. I think if we play in Cape Town, we would, because I think the energy here is different. But the Sharks, I think the Sharks are South Africa's best chance this year at going far in the URC. And if they pull their socks up also in the European Cup, the quality that they have, not just the Springboks, also the other players that they have, it's immense. And happy for them. But now I think that even the fact that we got Dion Fourie back has already made a massive difference in the way we play. And I think the level of calmness that we have on the field, just because he brings like a different energy. And I think especially in rugby, you're never going to have your full strength team, or at least not often. And if you get some key players back for a while, Sasha is a big worry because he keeps getting injured in games and it's always something different. And I was wondering if it was maybe also like a mindset thing. You know, sometimes when you get injured a bit, you feel your body a bit more. But John Dobson was saying that he was actually playing through like a lot of pain already, and they should have taken him off earlier. So you just hope it's a question of, do you rush him back? Do you give him enough time to recover? And when he comes back, will he have the same confidence because he keeps getting knocks now? It's tough. I also don't understand why they keep letting Marnie kick when Sasha's on the field. It befuddles me. I know we were discussing this on the group, because that'll do that also, I think that'll shred his confidence as well. I don't know if he's asked for it. I'm assuming that he's said, listen, let me kick. I can do this. But he's not, I don't think this is doing wonders for his confidence, because, all right, he made the last conversion, which sort of gave us a little bit more breathing room. But there were some kicks before that he was missing where you were like, oh, these aren't tough ones. And it won't take long before even a passionate Cape Town crowd can get on your back. So that was always a wonder to me, but there'll be a plan. I just don't know what it is.
Just a quick note on mine, like, you know, it's all well and fun and games when you're winning. But if you're losing by 3 points or 4 points because you haven't, you know, gotten your conversions over, that's a whole different story. And as you say, the Cape Town crowd will eventually turn. it doesn't make sense to me either. I don't understand why you would do that, especially if you have the likes of a Sasha. Even Warwick Galant can kick. So, you have other options.
Warwick Galant needs to learn how to fucking catch the ball first. That hook's knocking the ball on like he's playing fucking volleyball these days. And it's been for the last 4 weeks. I know he's a very elusive player and it's part of his game to sort of carry the ball, I think, a little bit more distance so that he can offload. So he's stepping. But it feels like every time I'm watching the Stormers, this Oak is knocking the ball on a lot.
Dion Free was actually saying that. He was like, we have so many X-Factor players like Warwick Galant, Sasha, and Mani. And then Herschel Yankees is also, he's got his X-Factor to him as well. The problem is that sometimes you need to rein these guys in a little bit, is what Dion was saying. He's like, you guys need to play with as much freedom as you want, but within a structure, because it doesn't help if you guys run 50 meters up the field and now you're isolated and there's a turnover. It's no benefit to the team. So it's just something that needs to be kept in mind. But Dion Free back in the mix now, second week in a row. The energy and the mindset that man brings to that squad is game changing. The team looks like a completely different outfit with him on the field. So for a guy who's 38, I think, 37, 38, something like that. He's pretty old.
He's not as old as Brock Harris, but he's old.
Brock Harris is the oldest man in rugby. He's also got the weirdest hairstyle. Completely shaved the top off, and then he's got these massive white sideburns coming down the side.
Massive white sideburns,
but only really short ones as well. Anyway,
he's basically the Brazilian Ronaldo in 2002 who had that fucking triangle on the front of his head playing for Brazil.
Yeah.
And I think that's the first time ever that someone has compared Brock Harris to the Brazilian Ronaldo.
And I think it might be the last time.
Should we run through some other plays from the UFC?
Exactly. Let's do it. So we had, this was a derby weekend again, just like it was last weekend. We had Connacht Ulster 7-17. Ulster taking the win there in Galway. Edinburgh, Glasgow. This was an interesting one. Very boring game to watch, might I add, but a very interesting result. 10-7, Edinburgh pips the Glasgow Warriors in Edinburgh.
They did well to turn that around from the week before, because the week before in Glasgow, when they played each other, they did sort of get a bit of not a hiding, but they were comprehensively beaten. So for Edinburgh to come back, play them at home and beat them, I think is a very good result for them.
As I said, I watched that game and it was a pretty dull game. But look, sometimes you got to grind it out.
I think it was the 60th minute and it was fucking 3-0 or something like that. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
This is tough.
No. It was wet. It was grimy. It was muddy. So then we had Zebra Benetton, who, Zebra pushed Benetton quite hard last week. Didn't push them as hard this week at home. 12-24, Benetton taking the win.
No.
Munster Leinster 7-28. That was quite a comprehensive win by Leinster. And then the only two games left for this week is Cardiff Ospreys. I think they play tomorrow, and so do Scarlets versus Dragons. So the Welsh derbies are on New Year's Day, and the Lions and Bulls have a bye.
I've got a question for you. If you were Irish rugby, would you be concerned as to the the distance between a team like Leinster and the rest of their teams, because the rest of the Irish teams are all struggling? Munster used to still be up there, very competitive, but now all of them are struggling. And the level of I'm not going to say the level of rugby, but they're not competitive enough in my eyes for the strength that Ireland shows. They're really loading Leinster top heavy. And I don't know if that's the right strategy. And I wonder what you would think about that. Is
this to be concerned about for the Irish team, for the national team, or just generally for their league as a whole?
I think for their league. I think for the Irish national team, it doesn't matter where you get your players from, if they're all from one team or not. But in terms of the health of Irish rugby, if you continuously underperform in the URC, I don't know how that sport is going to survive. Or I don't know how they're gonna keep revenues up if the rest of their teams don't perform.
I agree with you. I think the same thing. If you have three teams that are all becoming not the whipping boys, they're not that bad. They're not, they're not at the level of a Zebra or anything like that. But no. there's a certain level of competitiveness that the Irish fans will expect, especially playing against other teams besides Leinster. And so if those wins are not happening, I guess the Irish crowd will get a little bit, they're not going to be keen to be going into a stadium, especially if, you're watching rugby in Ireland, in winter, in the rain, in the wet, in the cold. Yes, why would you want to go watch your team lose all the time? It's quite a commitment getting these people out there.
This is what they're used to in Ireland, because it's like a winter sport.
Yeah, true. But they've got so many sports that are really big. Their Gaelic football is huge. Their hurling is quite large. So, do people then start looking at other sports to go, or even their soccer's big. So do they start looking at other sports to go watch that are more competitive and more entertaining? I mean, Leinster will do fine.
Yeah. I noticed when I looked at the log, and I've seen, I don't think when you're, obviously the Stormers have a little bit of a monkey on their back with Munster, and they haven't played well. But I don't think if you're seeing your team play an Irish team other than Leinster, you really rate your chances these days. And that's strange to me, because I think especially someone like Munster, and I would say Ulster also should be more competitive. But they could also just be having bad seasons.
We will see. But I mean, you look at the Leinster team, and it's just like the entire Irish team is in Leinster. So it is a bit lopsided from a selection point of view. And you kind of wonder how that happened, because this is something that Dominic would be quite good on asking, because he's quite informed with like the politics of rugby. But I think they have a central
politics of anything
really. Yeah. But I think they've got a central sort of draft system like they do in New Zealand. So how this has happened that Leinster's got all the players, I don't understand.
Listen, let's see. It's not like we're that concerned about the health of Irish rugby, but I think now that we're in the URC, you always like to see when it's a really competitive league. And it's the same for the Welsh and the Italian teams. You'd really like them to also become more competitive, just so that in general, the rugby is good and the product gets better. But yeah, it's just something, I think, something so strange with the Irish, with Leinster always being top of the log and the rest of them just fucking fighting for survival there. I think in South Africa, you're obviously losing a lot of players either to overseas teams or to other unions in South Africa, depending on who has the most money. But because of the depth of player pools, you still have good players, you have good coaches, and different teams will do well in different seasons. So you're not going to have that. Maybe the Sharks will start to dominate now with the amount of wealth they have, but Stormers, Bulls, even the Lions don't always seem that far behind.
That's true. We definitely just have the numbers in population. If you compare it to Ireland, they just don't have that many people to choose from. So, it's a numbers game. But
can I quickly, before we switch, or maybe you weren't even going to switch to football yet, I just want to mention something else in the rugby scenario, a different league, the Premiership. Did you see the results from Saturday?
I just saw that Bath and Saracens, there was some, was it Bath and Saracens?
Bath thumped Saracens 68-10.
Yeah.
Then Northampton beat Newcastle 61-0. 61-0. That's like what the All Blacks did to the Springboks a few years ago. That's hectic. And then in the last game of the weekend, or on Saturday, Harlequins and Leicester played out to a 34-34 draw.
Yes, these guys are scoring tries for fun, bro.
Andre Pollard kicked the tying penalty there in the last minute for Leicester, which just, I think, comes back to what you were saying earlier with Marnie's kicking struggles. If your kicker isn't on point and if you can't rely on him in those moments, you're going to lose some vital matches or some points, because that's BMT.
That is BMT now, for sure.
So just something to look at. That Premiership rugby is wild.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'm actually quite excited, because now when I go down to Cape Town, I will be going to one of the rugby games for the Championship Cup. So I'll be seeing Sale Sharks, which is a team that I've never seen before. So that's going to be quite interesting. But moving on to a ball that's a little less egg-shaped and a little bit more football-shaped.
A little bit.
It was completely round.
Completely
round.
Yeah.
let's chat about the Premier League. We've had two matches.
It's a pity that Dom isn't here.
It's a pity that Dom isn't here. But before we talk about Dom's team, I want to talk about your team. We've had two match days in this last week. One, I think, was like last week, Wednesday, Thursday. And then we had one that's gone over from yesterday to today. So there's a couple of games tonight that we obviously won't be able to tell you what the score is yet. But let's talk about Liverpool for a second. Over two games, you guys seem like you're just scoring goals for fun now. You scored 8 goals and only conceded 1. That is unreal.
The teams we played weren't the bottom half of the table. They're where United is sitting. They're their neighbours, Leicester, West Ham. So they are struggling. But yeah, we are playing extremely well. And the only thing I think that can upend Liverpool's season is some hectic injury crisis, because the way we're playing, the systems we're playing are really good. Our opponents are all struggling, dropping points. So it's all looking sprightly for Liverpool.
It really is. So the one thing that I wanted to ask you is, this is obviously a very strong end to the year, but generally you guys have been playing really well. You're top of the league by a good margin.
I think if Arsenal win, I think it'll be 6 points, but we have a game in hand against Everton, which is a big one. But so yeah, we have a healthy lead. Usually, so a lot of the times in the past, the teams that have been ahead by Christmas win the league. I think there was 3 times in the last 10 years or something where it didn't happen, but Liverpool were one of those where we didn't win. So I think you just got to, that classic age-old wisdom that the coaches and the players give you after every game is you just take it one game at a time.
Keep on plugging along. But nevertheless, a very good year so far for Liverpool, and especially for Arne Slot in his first year. So at this point, tomorrow is New Year's Day, or New Year's Eve, sorry, and then New Year's Day. So I think at this point, it's one of the last opportunities we have to reflect on 2024, which is why I want to ask you, what is your overall impression of Arne Slot and what he's done with the team in 2024?
I think I've seen a lot of people comment on his takeover from Jurgen Klopp. And Jurgen Klopp was such an icon at Liverpool. And when he announced that he was leaving, I think when he announced that he was leaving, Liverpool fans were extremely concerned, because we've seen what happened when Ferguson left United, when Wenger left Arsenal. When those kind of icons leave a team, there is usually a massive drop-off. And I think our opponents were quite excited as well, because Klopp did have us competing in a lot of the seasons, even when we had massive injury crises. That's a little dig at Pep Guardiola. So Jurgen Klopp built an incredible foundation at Liverpool, and he actually said that at his first press conference, he said, because everyone was so excited about Jurgen Klopp, he said, "It's not about what you think of a manager when he arrives. It's about how you feel when he leaves." And when he left behind such a strong squad, such a good foundation. The club is in such a healthy space that Slot has said this himself. He's managed to come in, and the quality of players that he's working with is so good that they picked up on his system and his ideas very quickly. Whereas someone like Ruben Amorim is coming into United, and he's always bemoaning the lack of training sessions he's having with his team. But if his players were better, if they were just better footballers on a general scale, they would be able to take less training sessions to pick up his systems, and they're not. So he's needing longer, and it's just that it's like an evil cycle, because the players aren't picking up his systems. He needs to get wins. Now he might have to change his systems. But yeah, so overall, I'm so happy with Arne Slot. I think he brings a calmness that we didn't have under Klopp, which sometimes I think cost us. I think a lot of the Liverpool players are also very excited about him because it's something new. And now my hope is just that we can keep all 3 of the players whose contracts are running out, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Virgil van Dijk, and Mo Salah, because I think they're all amazing. And I think the continuity and the consistency will help us through this season and through next season. And if we get those kind of stories out the way, because that's the only thing that opposition fans currently have, or the media has, to destabilize us, is contract talks. People are always on Twitter. It's Trent is going to Madrid. It's confirmed. Mo Salah doesn't want to sign a new contract because he's not getting enough. I think the only one who's calm is Virgil van Dijk. And that's, if you get those things out of the way, then you can really compete.
Well, as we are now part of the media, social media as well, let's talk about contracts. How important is Salah for Liverpool? Because, I mean, this guy is dominating currently. He's playing so well. I mean, not only is he scoring goals, he's setting them up. He's, leading from the front, cool, calm, collected. And he's been doing that for years now. So how integral is he in your squad?
I think he is very integral. I think the Liverpool front line is it's packed with incredible talent. So you're getting goals from everywhere, but no one's putting up the numbers that Salah is. He's the best striker or the best forward in the Premier League. Liverpool, or the owners of Liverpool, have almost like a Moneyball kind of approach to players. And when they get a certain age, like when they're over 30, they're not offered multi-year contracts and stuff like that. So we're getting into a phase now where the ownership has to decide whether they just want to stick by their rules regardless of who it is. We treat everyone the same, or whether he is just like an outsider, because the numbers he's putting up are sometimes better than the numbers he's put up in the seasons when he was younger, when we got him. And in my mind, just give him a 2-year deal, or you could probably even give him a 3-year deal. And if he does start dropping off the levels, then he becomes more of an impact player off the bench, and maybe you still sell him for a bit of a profit, because if he leaves on a free, all three of them, it seems tough.
I think the only person who's scored more goals this year is Haaland, but I think
even Salah's ahead of him in goals, if I'm not mistaken.
I was looking it up last night, and I think
really?
I think Mo Salah's on 28 or 29 goals this season, and I think Haaland was on.
But across all competitions, maybe. I thought maybe just the Premier League.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but still, I mean, you can't argue. Haaland also doesn't play for Liverpool, so that's irrelevant. But you can't argue with how good Salah is. So, it'll be interesting to see how those goes. And then Virgil van Dijk is obviously also a very important signing for you guys.
Yeah. I think arguably he might be the most important one to keep out of those three, just because I'm not saying the other two can be easily replaced, but there is signs that there are players who might not be on the same level, but are growing, and that could fill that gap. But to have a centre back that on his own is so good, but also makes the players that he plays with so good, is quite rare. And there's not a lot of centre backs out there that have that level. So it's important to nail him down and get him to sign a new contract. But I think they will.
So, in summary, all is well, all is good with Liverpool, and long may it continue. So Maxi keeps that a big smile that he got from Dr. Jackson. I
paid my dues with Liverpool.
The other team that we like to talk about on this channel is obviously Man United, which is fiercely supported and discussed by our comrade Dominic Neal, who is, as we said, out sick today. They have not played their second game yet. They will be playing that tonight against Newcastle. But last week, Wednesday, they played against Wolves. And once again, they lost. With a red card. This time I double checked. It was a double yellow to Bruno Fernandes, but they lost 2-0.
And Wolves have just gotten a new manager. Wolves were in the relegation zone. So it's one that I think United would have wanted to win. They both have new managers, but you can see in Wolves that they have that, what you would call new manager bounce. You know, when a new manager comes in, the players are sort of uplifted. There's this energy of like, we're turning things around, and they are benefiting from that. United, on the other hand, are not. United are, it seems like, carrying on the same way than under Ten Hag, but it's tough. If I was a United fan, I'd also be excited about Amorim, but on the other hand, these Oaks they've got relegation form. They're not going to be relegated, but the way they're playing is relegation form. These Oaks are losing. they're as far away from the top 6 as they are from the bottom 3. And I think Amarim keeps bemoaning the lack of training time that he has with these players, and you sort of wonder when he's going to get that, or why he's gotten so little time with them, and if something can't change there. But I don't know if they're going to completely overhaul the squad in January, because the January transfer window is notoriously difficult because players aren't really on offer in January. Nobody wants to let their players go. And if they do let them go, you're usually paying way over price for players. So you're not really seeing United sign superstars in that window, but you never know. Maybe he gets 2 or 3 players that really fit his system well, and he can turn it around. But even he's said in his last press conference, he understands that if he doesn't start winning, then he's also in trouble, which is wild that you have to start talking about that after being in the job for, I don't know, maybe 1.5, 2 months.
Yeah, it seems like it's a very cutthroat position in football as the head coach.
For a big club like that, I think it's, yeah. But like even now, so Cristiano Ronaldo left for the second time a few years ago, and he says it's not the coach at the club. And he was actually, so he had a falling out with Ten Hag and was forced out of the club. And now he's saying it's not Amarim. So you sort of wonder what is the issue for United? Where are the issues? Because they've semi-changed the ownership, because Ineos has come in and has sort of taken over controlling side of the football from the Glazer family. And people like Gary Neville and other United fans were always like, okay, now we're ready to build, because now focus is being put on football. And all you're reading about Ineos is how they're cost-cutting. Oaks aren't getting Christmas bonuses that have been working for the club. Former Premier League players aren't getting the support that they're getting anymore. So I think if you're a United fan, you look back at 2024 and it's not been fun, and it's not been a good year, and you're probably not looking at 2025 with that much optimism. But whenever you ask a United fan, then they're going to tell you by June, July, when it's the next break, and you ask them how they're going to finish next season, they're going to tell you second. And these Oaks are, I don't know where they get their optimism from, but they should share that with the rest of the world, because
it's definitely interesting to watch. It's also very interesting to see, I'm obviously through this podcast getting more and more into the Premier League. I'm not promising anybody that I'm watching all the games, but I'm definitely, looking into it, doing a bit of research and seeing what's happening. And every sport, and I hate to always take this back to rugby, but it's the thing that I know best or a little bit better at least, is that, the amount of patience in terms of bringing in a manager in seems extremely short in the Premier League. I don't know if that's the same in all the other leagues, but you're saying that after a month and a half, they're already calling for Amarin's head. That seems like...
No, I didn't say that. Whoa.
No.
It's the media who does it. The media likes to... So they'll always... As soon as there's a dark cloud on the horizon, they're the ones who are going to place these things, because that's what sells for them. But none of the fans, I think, will be calling for his head, because that would be ridiculous.
But you said that Amarin had mentioned, it's getting a bit tough for me now.
He was asked in a press conference.
Okay.
He was just saying he understands why the questions are asked to him, whether he's worried about his job if he doesn't start winning. So I think he also plays that game in the media where he's like, he knows what they're doing, the journalists. He knows what we're doing here. He knows what I'm doing.
I'm baiting him.
I'm keen to see many years of an unstable Manchester United, because they're my arch nemesis.
Fair enough. Okay, so I would say that's our reflection on Amarin. He's had too short a time to turn things around, but there's structural problems at Man United that need ironing out before he's going to have any chance of being able to actually start pursuing any type of trophies. Let me just run you through a couple of... I haven't got all of the games listed because it was 2 match days, so it's just a lot. But I'll run through some of the more interesting ones. We have Nottingham Forest versus Tottenham. Tottenham getting a red card, but Nottingham beating them 1-0. And then Nottingham also played now yesterday against Everton.
They're second in the league. They are flying. Everyone was critical of them, or people were laughing at them because of their transfer policy. They signed a lot of players. It was, a bit strange. And they've just proven everyone wrong. Good for them. Must be so nice to be a fan, like a proper Nottingham fan, living there, seeing your team do this well. I think people are flying high.
So just the same way that we reflected at Arneslot and we sort of semi-reflected in Amarin. My one question was going to be, which team were you most impressed by in 2024? I have to assume, by the way, that you get giddy every time we talk about Nottingham Forest. It has to be Nottingham Forest, right?
I don't get giddy, Klaus.
Dude.
I'm just fucking paying the Oaks their compliments. Jesus. I literally, the other team that was in my my player of the week was Crystal Palace. I just think there's teams out there that are doing a lot. Fulham, on the other hand, are also doing really well. But I think the team that I'm most impressed with, other than Liverpool, I think it would be a trio of Chelsea and Nottingham Forest, and I think probably Fulham. I think the three of them play really well. Fulham, I assume you were going to get to this. Sorry to take it from you.
Okay.
Fulham came back and beat Chelsea 2-1 at Stamford Bridge. That's a massive derby because these two I think they're separated by 5 kilometers, their stadiums. And I used to live down there when I lived in London. And Fulham is sort of the people's club. Chelsea is the rich man's club. And for them to come back after being 1-0 down and beating Chelsea is awesome. And they play great football. So good for them.
And playing away at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, I think these Oaks all still manage to stay at home because it's like going to your own stadium. But you know.
No, for sure. And then to just wrap up a couple of the other score lines, we had Liverpool, Leicester 3-1. As we said earlier on, massive score line for Liverpool this week. And then the other one was against West Ham, which is 5-0. Lots of goals scored.
Mm-hmm.
But very one-sided. What was the other games that I had listed? Leicester Man City 0-2. So Pep continues with his spiral downwards.
No. Wait, whoa. Yeah, wait. He didn't lose to Leicester. He beat Leicester yesterday. That was 0-2 City.
Oh shit! I've written it the wrong way down. He drew with Everton. Oh no, I've written it correctly. I just read it incorrectly. He drew with Everton 1-1, and then he got his first win in a long time. So sorry, his spiral is not going down. His spiral has flattened out.
No, Jesus, bro. We all wish for it, but no. No shame. We don't wish for it. Never wish unwell on another man. But it was his first away victory since I think end of October, and that's big. These Oaks if the Premier League had started in early October or something, I saw a stat the other day, they'd be last. I think they've got 4 points since then, so good for them.
Unreal. Well, let's see if they can keep this streak of draws and wins going. Then your next favorite team, Palace, beat Southampton 2-1.
Yeah.
Tottenham drew against Wolves 2-2. Tottenham missed a penalty by Son, which was well done to Wolves for blocking that one. But Wolves I was looking at the stats, and Wolves just seemed to have absolutely dominated the game. They were ahead on everything, really.
Yeah.
But only managed to equalize the game in the final 3 minutes, I think it was. So
I think Wolves are not to be underestimated now that they've got a new coach. I think it's tough to play them because they've really got a new wind, and I think they'll be tough to play against. And so I think you almost look at that and you say, sure, Tottenham should win at home, but I don't think you're going to be bummed by getting points off Wolves now for a short time till that wears off.
Maybe it doesn't. Let's see what happens.
Maybe it doesn't.
And then tonight we have Man United play against Newcastle, Ipswich play against Chelsea, and Aston. I've missed something.
No,
sorry,
I think it's just the two of them, isn't it?
Man United, Newcastle, Ipswich, Chelsea, Aston Villa,
United, Newcastle. Aston Villa, Brighton.
Aston Villa, Brighton, and Brentford play against Arsenal. So those are the games that are being played tonight that we will maybe review next week, I assume.
Let's leave the round ball for a shorter round ball, a smaller round ball.
I was just about to say the same thing. So, the cricket is an interesting game. Cricket is one of the longest games. And the
form you are starting over here with cricket. Well, and you're fucking walking everyone to...
Well, not everybody who watches our channel also knows cricket very well. So I just thought I would explain quickly that there's cricket. Everybody's seen cricket on TV or what it may look like. There's 3 different versions of cricket. And essentially all that it differs in is the time of play. And currently there's a test match going on. Test match is it's scheduled for 5 days, but it usually only play for like 3 or 4 days. It's essentially there's no limit on the overs. There's just a certain amount of innings needs to be played. And that's what South Africa and Pakistan were playing this week. But my
India
question...
and Australia were also playing it this week.
India and Australia were also playing it this week. But we're first going to talk about South Africa, Pakistan. My question to you, Maxi, I'm going to read something out to you. And I would like to hear what the answer is. So the longest game...
Can I just first correct you? Sorry. Can I first correct you on something? There's 4 formats of cricket because you missed French cricket, one of the most competitive garden formats that there is. But that we'll get into on a different podcast.
There's no professional league in French cricket, I don't think. So
wouldn't be surprised if there is. I was watching hobby horsing now, the videos of that the other day. Oaks doing wild things.
Everything can be made professional. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to read this out to you, Maxi, and I would love to see what your guess is at this. So, Test cricket used to be timeless. You could just play for as long as you liked. The longest game between South Africa and England was, I think it was in 1939. England were chasing South Africa's 530 and 481 lead. Well, that's what they put down. They had 5 wickets in hand and had 42 runs to go. But because they need to catch their boat back home to England, they had to call the game a draw. How many days did they play for, do you think?
If you ask like that, people can bat slow in Test cricket, which is why some people don't like it. I would say they played for 8 days.
Very close. They played for 9 days and 10 days were scheduled. One day was rained out, but they played for 9 days.
The thing about, I think we've lost a lot of the listenership and the viewers who don't like cricket anyway, but kudos on you on trying to make it more palatable to the broader audience. I think where people struggle with cricket is that I don't think if you haven't played it or you don't really understand the game, the 5-day game is obviously not going to be any interest at all to you because it is slow. You're committing to something that a result might be a draw after 5 days. But it is, in cricketing terms, the purest form of the game. And when you get an exciting game, like the South African-Pakistan was, because it was so close, it's better than all other formats because you've invested a lot of time into this. And it's like a 5-day chess match where moves aren't as... you're not going to get instant replays like you will in other sports, but it's sort of people make moves that will pay dividends down the line. And it's fantastic to see. South Africa beat Pakistan, I think what did they beat them by 2 wickets or something in the end. And that last day, the 4th day, was insane. I think South Africa were overnight for something like 27 for 3 or something like that. They were 3 wickets down. They needed something like 120 runs on the last day. Pakistan came out like a house on fire and tore through the South African batting lineup. I think that South African batting lineup has to take a long, hard look at themselves because they almost handed it to Pakistan on a silver platter. I didn't watch the final day, unfortunately, so I don't know what the pitch was doing. But when I kept checking Cricinfo for updates, the wickets that were falling, I was worried. And then 2 bowlers came in. I guess you can almost call them all-rounders, but Jansen and Rabada, I think they needed 51 to win. And they got it over the line. There was only Patterson, I think, to come, and for them to do that, that's massive. Because as we've discussed on previous podcasts, that result gets us into the World Test Championship final in June in Lords. So massive result for South Africa.
It was definitely a test match of two halves, because watching the first innings with South Africa, South Africa's bowling in the first innings was brilliant. I mean, Dane Patterson took 5 wickets for only 61 runs, and Corbin Bosch took 4 wickets for 63 runs. Corbin Bosch on debut, might I add.
On his debut.
At the tender age of 30, something like that. And then...
Hidden gem.
Yeah, hidden gem. And then our batting in the first innings was also pretty decent, I thought. 301, which was, almost like 90 runs more than Pakistan, right?
If you're looking at it like just at the score, yeah, it's fine. But there again, Corbin Bosch, who's you would consider someone on debut who shouldn't be contributing that much with the bat, made 70. And the other big score was Aiden Markram. Made 81.
Made 81 and Aiden Markram made 89.
So it flatters a little bit, because there's people in that batting lineup who really, they need to start performing. I think Dezorzi didn't make many runs. Kyle Verreynne didn't make many runs. So yeah, I think good that we got over the line. But I think kudos also for Pakistan for making it that close. I think that one Pakistani bowler bowled a spell of 17.5 overs yesterday behind each other. And that's hectic, because I know cricket doesn't seem like a strenuous sport, but that is, you are running in at pace. What's 17.5 times 6? That many times, and giving maximum effort and it's quite a technical skill. So hats off to them.
Yeah, no, Pakistan definitely pushed the South Africans all the way to the end. Yeah, it was getting tense there. I actually watched the final day. I watched the first day as well, but I watched the final day, and seeing Rabada and Janssen staying there at the crease, trying to just eke out a couple of runs just to get the win. We're talking about guys who are not specialized in batting. I mean, they can bat. No. They're professional cricket players. They can bat. But, you watch Rabada, and Rabada's got, there's a reason why he's an aggressive bowler. He's got that fire in him. I don't think going slow and really sort of pacing yourself out is in his nature. It's not in his DNA. Mm-hmm. So every time he was on strike.
Not so much about him. He's part of my play of the week.
Okay. Then I won't talk about him anymore. What I will talk about is our guy Kyle Verreynne. I don't know if you saw the video, or if
I did.
Or if you did. Kyle Verreynne and Karan Gula were getting into a bit of an argy-bargy there at the wickets. I think was it Karan Gula was complaining about somebody in the stands sort of distracting him, and Kyle Verreynne came in and said like, "Oh yeah, but what about that guy who's essentially sitting in the nosebleeds? Does he also distract you?" Sort of being a bit sarcastic, and Karan Gula just telling him to fuck off, essentially.
I think if you've played cricket before, you know how hostile it is in the middle there, because you wouldn't suspect it necessarily. You do pick it up now with the stump mics that they have, but it's hectic. If you're the two batsmen out there, you feel super isolated, and especially in test match cricket where the opposition feels very close around the bat. So you've got the wicket keeper who's always notoriously chirpy. This oak is constantly in your ear. And then you've probably got like an oak at shortstop, and the slip cordon, and everyone is just giving you shit. And the Australians are bad at it. The Indians are also getting really bad at it. And I think us South Africans are also not the friendliest around the bat. But I think we've always had this thing with some Pakistanis where some of the stuff that said, this is where I faltered as a cricketer, because I obviously didn't have the fucking mental fortitude to deal with it. I was ruthlessly bullied in the middle because I also couldn't bat that well. Yes, people would rip me off.
Is there something that stands out that you experienced?
My worst ever performance was, I think, because I was obviously coming down quite late. I was a specialist bowler, and I came in at let's say I came in at 7. I could hold a bat, but I wasn't good at it. And I think our top order, our batsmen, all fucking fell apart like you couldn't believe. And I think it was against Wanderers. And I walk out to the middle, and everyone's like, Maxi. And they're like, this is the day where you perform. Everyone's now putting this on me to save the day.
Yeah.
So I get out, and I connect with a few like great drives. And immediately I get chirped by the other team. They're like, oh, this guy thinks he's Jacques Callis, with the way he's driving. I was like, can we just also appreciate that I'm hitting some good cricket shots? They were all getting stopped. But then I had like a fucking full on like mental breakdown in the middle. And the guy bowls like a slow down the middle ball. This thing's a pie. And my mind just goes blank and I just kick the ball away and I get given out LBW.
Maxi, bro.
It was, the other team couldn't believe it, bro. They were fucking laughing and I was like, what have I just done? Yeah.
What did your team say when you walked back?
Surprising I don't play. It's surprising I don't play for the Proteas. But I think people there were also, I think they were flabbergasted. Yeah, it was tough to come back.
Nice.
But listen, I've done some stupid shit in my life. That just is one of them. So let's move on.
Let's move on to the. But before we move on, as you said, we have now qualified for the World Test Championship finals. Maiden entry into that. So well done to the Proteas for making it into that. You want to move on to Australia, India quickly?
I just want to first. I want to tell you, I've already notified Lords there of our interest to purchase tickets. I think we should go if we can get tickets for that.
That would be amazing.
That would be sick. Next June. Yeah, Australia, India actually wrapped up this morning. Also another good test, not as close as Pakistan, South Africa, but India lost on the I think it was day 5 to Australia. Also, that rivalry is intense. So
intense, man.
Australia at home, I think in general is really intense because they're quite chirpy, and they like to toe the line of what is used to be called the spirit of cricket. But this time there was another bra who was towing the line. I think actually crossed the line. It's Virat Kohli. So I think there's a debutant for Australia called, I don't know what his first name is, Constas, something like that. Let's see, Sam Constas. So this bra's 19 years old and he played on debut. This oak was, Bumrah is considered the best bowler in the world, I think in most formats from India. And this oak was reverse ramping him. You could see there's cockiness, there's arrogance in this 19-year-old. And Virat Kohli, I think just to get in this oak's head, after I think an over was done, changes his walking line. I think he comes from like 5 meters from the side and shoulder charges, and he turns around and basically is like, why are you walking into me? But if you see the wide angle and from where Kohli was walking to, it's to defend. Also, this bra's 19 and I think Kohli must be about our age, 33. So it's frowned upon. People are like, you're bullying a child. But I'm also like, listen, it's not the end of the world. It's crossing a line. You're not allowed to make physical contact. But he's just trying to get into the oak's head. And I think in the second innings, he didn't even make that many runs.
The Constance guy that you're talking about, he seemed to handle it quite well. He was just like, dude, what are you doing?
No, he did.
He didn't seem too flustered by it.
Media and the public who were very upset. But Kohli likes to. He's always in the media for stuff like that. But I think
bad boy.
He usually backs it up with great performances. So But yeah, I think we'll be playing either Oz or India, and I think now it's actually more likely that we might play Oz in that World Test Championship final. So I'd love that. I'd love an Oz SA final in England. I think it would be a big one.
Oh, it'd be completely sold out, eh?
Well, I think it would be sold out with India as well, because there's a massive expat community in the UK as well. But I think we've got a better chance of beating Australia than we do of beating India.
Yeah, no, India is quite scary. But just for interest's sake, it's quite interesting to see the two test matches compared now. In the first innings, for example, Pakistan and South Africa putting up 211 and 301 respectively. And then you see the test match in Australia, and you've got 474 in the first innings and 369 for Australia and India respectively. So it's also just wildly different in terms of, both extremely entertaining, but very, very different
exactly
in all of it.
I would highly recommend that people who don't watch Test cricket get into Test cricket, but I also understand it's extremely difficult when you don't understand the game, but it's a lot of fun. It's also a lot of fun going to Test cricket, but that's usually just because you're drinking in the sun and you're with your mates.
It is something that you can just let run in the background every now and again, just pop in, kind of like you would have the radio running. You just have the test match on in the background. Let's move on to something that's maybe more exciting for people who are not into cricket. Let's talk about, well, actually, I think your play of the week might be going back to cricket, isn't it?
Yeah. Let me quickly wrap up my play of the week. It is KG Rabada and Marco Jansen. It's more KG Rabada coming in with 50. I think they needed 51 or something. And I think it's, like you said, it's not to be underestimated how big of an achievement it is for two bowlers to come in and face off a pumped up Pakistan side, especially with the way KG Rabada plays. That Oak he wouldn't know how to get singles to close out that game. So he came for their throats and he did it. And I think he's one of the modern greats of South African cricket. And I'm glad he plays for us. So he's my play of the week.
His performance was unreal. Just watching him stand in the crease, I was nervous the entire time because I was like, the way this guy's playing, he's either going to, snick it and it's going to go to one of the slips, or
nick it
or whatever.
Nice.
Or he's going to hit it high and short, and somebody's going to catch it. I wasn't worried about getting bowled out. I was more worried about getting caught. But yeah, he was hitting fours. I think he hit like 3 fours or something like that. And then managed to get the win together with Marco Jansen. So that, great play of the week. Very nerve-wracking, edge of the seat stuff, but great play of the week nonetheless.
What is yours?
I'll move over to mine. Mine is the TGL, the golf league, that is going to be starting on the 7th of January. It hasn't happened yet, so I guess strictly speaking, this isn't a very good play of the week, but I'm quite excited about it because it's been 2 years in the making.
It's really good.
Essentially what it is, for people who don't know what it is instead of playing golf in real life, this is golf on a simulator. But the simulator, from what people might have seen on TV, this simulator is built within a stadium. I don't even know. Is it a football stadium or something like that? Or a convention center? It's massive. And they're hitting...
I think it's specifically built for this, so you'd have to call it a stadium.
Okay. So they... Essentially what happens is your tee shots and your approach shots are all hit into a simulator screen. And then as soon as you get into the green zone, which is anything around the green, they play it onto the screen that's 360 degrees articulating. And I think it's even got actuators within it so they can change the slope and the dynamic of the green. I mean, it's a technological marvel if you're quite honest. Anyway, it's going to be a team sport. There are 3 teams that will be competing against each other. I've got the team sheet here, actually. It is, and I'd be interested to hear which team, based on the names, you'd be supporting. So team number 1, Rory, Matsuyama, Keegan Bradley, and Adam Scott. That's team 1. Team 2 is Tiger Woods, Max Homer, Tom Kim, and Kevin Kisner. And then team 3 and the last team is Justin Rose, Tommy Fleetwood, Colin Morikawa, and Sahith Theegala.
Oh, there's always one guy in each team that I really like, and then there's others that I think are so boring. I think I'm Team Woods. I love
Team
Tiger.
Woods. Nice. And Max Homer is also really cool.
You?
I really like Max Homer as well.
Who are you for?
Quite honestly, man, the first guy in this list pisses me off, but everybody else I'm quite keen for is the Justin Rose, Tommy Fleetwood, Colin Morikawa, and Sahith Theegala. I think Theegala is awesome. Morikawa, I think, is really cool, and Fleetwood is cool. Justin Rose, I'm not too big a fan of.
I think the most exciting you get out of Justin Rose is when he plays Ryder Cup. It's very cool that golf. So all of this is brought about by the split with Liv. Golf having to reinvent itself, gain new followership, gain a younger followership audience, and all of this is catered towards that. It's actually Woods and McIlroy who are the main drivers behind this, and I think it's going to be really cool. But yeah, like you said, hasn't started yet. But I think it'll be exciting to see how it turns out.
I think the interesting thing is obviously, okay, we've seen it with Liv now, but there's the team format, and obviously you've seen it with Ryder Cup. The team format's going to be really interesting. Mm-hmm. The other thing that's going to be really interesting is, as far as I know, all of them are going to be mic'd up. So you're going to get, it's going to be way more interactive. Mm-hmm. You're going to get that real insight into what's the team dynamic like? Yeah. How do people sort of talk to each other in terms of, setting up the ball or setting up their shots? And then also, I don't think any of these guys, I mean, they've these guys are millionaires. They've all got simulators at home. But I don't think they've played on a simulator like this. And it's obviously a very different experience. So seeing who can adapt to those kind of conditions the quickest is also going to be quite interesting. So something to look forward for, 7th of January, that kicks off. And we shall be reviewing it, I would assume, in the coming weeks.
Yes. Yeah.
But for now, Maxi, I think it's time for you to go enjoy the last bit of sun that you can before heading back to Berlin.
I'm going to go for a swim. We're also braaiing it's a little farewell braai, so I'm going to go buy some meat now. Bags are packed. I'm ready. I think just maybe because we started with a segment that we haven't repeated. We're going to be back with our top 5 as soon as we're as a trio again. Hopefully that's from next week. But we thank you for listening. 2024. The experiment moves on. We're here every week.
We obviously wish Dominic gets well soon. But we also wish everybody a happy new year. Everybody, I hope everybody has a safe, healthy, and fun 2025.
Nice. Couldn't have said it better. Thanks,
Lovely.
everyone.
Thanks, man. And thanks, Maxi. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bench Opinions. 3 idiots with amateur analysis.